The Acrocanthosaurus is the most underrated megaceropod out there. It's even overshadowed by the Carcharodontosaurus and the wannabe goose. I won't lie and say it's my favorite dinosaur, but it's one of the coolest looking out there. It looks like what a Spinosaurus would look like if it was a strictly terrestrial predator. With a weight ranging from 5 to just over 6 tons, it isn't the largest megaceropod, but its grappling forearms and serrated teeth more than makes up for it being lower in the size department, even though it is still the size of an African elephant. Most of the few interpretations of this animal are actually decent, but Jurassic World Evolution massacred it. I don't know how many of you actually like this model, but I think it just looks egregious. It looks the way I did when my dad made me shave my head for school. Aside from that, there are other models that actually do look good, such as the Isle Acro, which is probably the most realistic one out there. While it may be considered one of the weakest megaceropods, some of the variants on this list can one-shot the strongest versions of apexes such as the Rex and Giganotosaurus. From glowing monstrosities that can turn a city into purgatory, to a battle-hardened veteran that can easily take down Arx Giga. That's right folks, we're going to be looking at the strongest versions of these high-spined lizards. Before I go on, consider hitting that subscribe button and watching to the end, because your support really does help me to continue making videos like this. And if you're new here, leave a comment on what dinosaur you would like to see, because some of my videos are actually subscriber suggestions. Enough rambling, let's look at the most powerful versions of these underrated hypercarnivores. Ark, of course, had to make an appearance here, and I'm sure most of you know why. Recently, Ark has added the Acrocanthosaurus to the official game. For those who don't know, it was once a mod in Survival Evolved, but was soon added to the vanilla game by wildcard, because of how well the animal fits in the game on its own. Other animals, like the Ceratosaurus and Deinosuchus, were also added to the game. The Acro in this game is massive, weighing more than 45 tons, and having a plethora of abilities that overshadow a lot of the other apexes in the game. It has a stomp attack that can knock down the strongest of opponents, and then there's this defensive stance which allows it to take significantly reduced damage against rocket launchers, turrets and most other types of artillery. The most well-known attack of this animal, however, is its adrenaline mode. This is basically the animal crashing out after taking too much damage. Its body starts to glow red, and in this state, it moves faster, hits harder, and takes even more reduced damage. It's something like the Giga's Rage mode, but lasts even longer. Despite all of this, Arx Giga could still easily dispatch an Acrocanthosaurus if it was the same level or even higher. But that doesn't apply to the broken version of it. I know you've all been waiting for it. The Savage Acro is a monster in every sense of the word. Imagine the normal Acrocanthosaurus but on steroids, times 10, with open wounds and scars around its entire body, with spears and arrows sticking out of its skin. It's been through a lot of fights and wars with humans and has always come out on top, and you'll soon see why. Arx Giganotosaurus is still slightly larger than this Acro, but not by a lot. The Acro itself is more than 300 tons, which seems small compared to the Giga's 450. Yet even if 30 wild Gigas fought this thing all at once, they would still lose without even taking off half of its health. It's the strongest boss out there too. Even the King Titan loses when against this thing. While not official yet, it might be something wildcard puts in the future. Explosives, grenades, guns or any form of weaponry barely put a dent in its health. Unlike most bosses that usually require 20 creatures to defeat it or less, this boss usually requires you to have more than 80 creatures, sometimes hundreds. Sauropods, Rexes, Gigas, you name it. They all fall to this thing in a fight. It has stomp attacks that one-shot some of the strongest creatures, and has an attack where it sucks up air and sends medium-sized dinosaurs in the air. However, its most devastating attack is its charged up roar. When it roars, it sends a powerful shockwave that kills even some of the tankiest creatures in the game. And even if you are sort of out of range on a flyer, you still can be stunned mid-flight and sent crashing down, where the only thing you could do is leave your tame to its fate. While the Giganotosaurus in itself may pose a threat to Round Rock, it still would most likely lose to Kong. However, if this thing was to be put on Kong Skull Island, it would most likely defeat Kong. The juvenile version, I should say. Even the apes' battle strategy and higher intelligence won't be able to save it from an animal with a roar that can remove flesh from bone. Also, with how scarred the Acro is, it more than likely has its fair amount of battle intelligence itself. Even if Kong decided to do ranged attacks, it would more than likely just piss it off, because if some of the strongest explosives out there barely phase it, then I'm not too sure how a sharp log would do. If it was put in a city, it's leveling the entire area, and with all the arrows and spears in its body, it's fair to say that it doesn't like people. I highly doubt even the most powerful guns could put a dent in it. This requires a mini nuke or something to be killed. As powerful as this Acrocanthosaurus is, there still is a chance that the next one is somehow even more powerful. In less than a day, another dinosaur from Dinosaur King is yet again on the list. Why, you may ask? Well, because it's from Dinosaur King. Of course an anime character is going to make it on one of these. This dinosaur version of Pokemon has a bunch of different animals, with the weakest being able to level a skyscraper, all the way to the strongest having the ability to destroy planets. In this series, the Acro has two different variants, and both are some of the largest if not the largest theropods in the show, even bigger than the T-Rex. I guess Dinosaur King said to hell with the paleo accuracy. Either that or they just foreshadowed Jurassic World's version and decided to make it look absolutely badass. And that it does. In its base form, the Acrocanthosaurus is already an absolute unit. It casually walks and destroys building walls and concrete barriers. On top of that, it decided to be part Spinosaur as it swam from a beach to a volcanic island. Its fight scenes are honestly some of the best in my opinion, especially the one with Chomp, who is one of the strongest dinosaurs in the series, possibly at Terry's level or even higher. During the fight with Chomp, it traded blow after blow with him and eventually grabbed his tail and swung him into a rock, shattering it. This theropod managed to Kung Fu Panda jump 100 feet into the air at a standstill and crash down onto the earth, leaving a mini crater in its wake. If a real Acro tried to jump from even a quarter of that height, its legs would turn into dust. What's really impressive is that one of Chomp's most powerful attacks that usually defeats even some of the higher tiers didn't defeat this thing. It took a bit of a shock but eventually just got up. It took Terry coming in to end its rampage. Although it can't really be considered a rampage since it just went to that island in hopes of finding its family, which is, well, you know, even in its weakened state, it's able to keep up with Terry for a while until he is finally set ablaze and turns back into his card form. However, the very element that defeated him in the first place would soon end up being his main form of attack. After he was experimented on, he turned into an alpha variant. He's now decently bigger than his base form and a lot more powerful. Even when it's just going on its day, it melts the roads it walks on, and its very presence can start a forest fire. It was about to destroy an entire city if some of the other dinosaurs didn't intervene. This time, fire is its main weapon of choice, and unlike other dinosaurs that have a cooldown time on their elemental attacks, this guy can just repeatedly shoot fire from his mouth like he's a dragon. In my opinion, he was now even better suited to flames than Terry was. When Paris tried to stop him, he showed the poor dinosaur eternal damnation, as she saw purgatory. Even when Chomp tried to help, he couldn't do much, and when Ace tried to land a bite, he is forced to drop off due to how hot the Acro skin is. It's something like the Colossal Titan where so much heat is given off that it burns everything around it. It took Ace having to combine his tornado attack with water to finally drown this animal and cool it off, which eventually defeated it, and this just goes to show that fire can't beat water. Well, at least in this case. Now, while Dinosaur King characters are usually undisputed in terms of power, it could somewhat be close between the Savage Acro and the Alpha Acrocanthosaurus. Both can dish out massive amounts of damage and tank some of the most destructive attacks. Yet if it really came down to it, I would probably give it to the Savage Acro, but just barely. The fight could honestly go either way. In my opinion, the Savage Acro just has enough durability to withstand some of the flames, and its roar attack could damage the Alpha Acro to the point where it can't turn back into its card form. While not nearly as powerful as these two, the next Acrocanthosaurus can somehow perform Kung Fu. Warpath Jurassic Park is starting to be a regular on this list, and that isn't surprising considering the absolute monstrosities that come out of this arcade game. It's the Street Fighter version for those of you who like dinosaurs. You get to choose your own dinosaur out of a large list and fight your way to the end. Some of the strongest dinosaurs in this game are the Ankylosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus and the Triceratops that impales its victim's neck and raises them off the ground just to slam them onto the floor. The Acrocanthosaurus is probably the strongest carnivore in the game, or one of the strongest I should say, but it is the biggest. If I had to put a weight on it, I'd say somewhere between 10 and 13 tons, which puts it at the upper end of the largest theropods in the Jurassic franchise, including the Giganotosaurus and Spinosaurus. This Acrocanthosaurus has some attacks that should just not be possible. It leaps more than 25 feet in the air, backwards and forwards to dodge attacks, as well as carry out attacks while in the air such as kicks and tail slaps. The animal can strike like a cobra in a sense, where it winds up similarly to the way a cobra does and strikes. This special attack can be done fairly often and could drain the health of even the tankiest of opponents. It can spam kick in the same place too, continuously stunning the opponent over and over. Its most powerful counter though is its tuck and roll attack, where it grabs the opponent by the throat and rolls over just to throw them aside, and this usually is used as a finisher move most of the time. Offense aside, it has probably the best durability of any theropod in the game. Somehow it's able to take shot after shot after shot from an Ankylosaurus club and have the strength to stand itself up, ready to fight again. Even special moves that would finish some other carnivores like the Suchomimus only reduces the HP by about half in some cases. Just being able to take damage from a roid rage triceratops and a murderous ankylosaurus is a good enough feat on its own. If this Acro was put up against the franchise megaceropods, it would win fairly easily, and that's based purely off of the dinosaurs it already has to fight. In the game, it has to adapt a certain amount of skill and reflexes, as well as having the ability to soak and dish out an unforeseen amount of damage just to survive the mechanics of the other dinosaurs in the game. These attributes would allow it to dominate the franchise's theropods very easily. Although the Spinosaurus is my favorite animal in the trilogy, can you imagine it trying to snap the Acro's neck just for it to experience a tuck and roll and get thrown to the side, where it's then repeatedly kicked in the face until it dies from blunt force trauma? It sounds goofy, but it's true. If those very attacks can damage the game's ankylosaurus, it can more than damage an unarmored theropod. And even Zeb wouldn't be safe. As for the hybrid, her intelligence and extra weaponry wouldn't be enough to save her from raw power and skill. This Acrocanthosaurus is obviously weaker than the first two, but that doesn't mean it's weak by any means. If it can dish out and take damage from a 12-ton trike, it deserves a spot on one of my rankings. It is however stronger than the final Acros on the list, but those guys aren't weak either, and one of them may just bring back nostalgia for some of you. The last sections are actually made up of two different dinosaurs. One is clearly more powerful than the other, but I just wanted to add the second one, but because of one feat it was able to do. The first one I'm going to look at is the Monsters Resurrected Acrocanthosaurus. I think we all know the work Monsters Resurrected is responsible for, the creation of this thing. The most inaccurate dinosaur I have ever seen in a documentary, aside from Stephen Fry's dinosaurs. The Acro is not nearly as overpowered or as large, but is a monster in its own right. In the wiki it says that the Acro is around 5 to 6 tons, which is accurate to the real dinosaur and would make sense for a documentary. But remember when the show said that the Spinosaurus they made was 9 tons, when it was more than double that in reality. I'm not saying this Acro is anywhere near that big, but when compared to a 36-ton sauropod it hunts, I just about bump it up to just over 7. In terms of durability, it's realistic, which means that it's bad compared to something else on the list. When chasing the massive herbivore, two of the Acros get absolutely ratioed. One with a tail attack and the other with the sauropod's foot. However, single-handedly, one of these animals was able to bring down a fully grown sauropod with more ease than it should have. Its bite, despite being significantly weaker than that of a T-Rex's, was able to make that animal come to a halt, long enough so that it could grab its throat and finish it off. This is something even a T-Rex isn't able to do, or at least we haven't found any evidence suggesting that it can bring down a fully grown sauropod like an Alamosaurus on its own. While nowhere nearly as impressive as the others on this list, I still think bringing down a sauropod on its own is pretty OP, especially for a documentary. The only drawback I can say about this Acro is honestly its durability. The second Acrocanthosaurus is significantly stronger than this one, with it being able to tank bullets and flamethrowers. The Primal Acro. This Acro was also bigger than the Monsters Resurrected version at 8 tons or more. I personally always wanted to play Primal Carnage as a kid, mostly because of all the Gaming Beaver videos, but I sadly never did get to play it. I did try to pirate the game as much as I could, but just ended up getting a virus on the family computer. And even if I did get to download it, chances are that the computer couldn't run it. This Acrocanthosaurus is similar to Ark's Acro in a way. It can do stomp attacks that kill smaller to medium-sized dinosaurs, and can run through an entire fleet of soldiers while being shot at continuously with automatic rifles, shotguns, and even a flamethrower. That's right, even after being set ablaze, it can still keep on attacking and has a high chance of surviving once the fire dies down. It has the ability to gain different mutations that change its appearance. This is most likely to allow it to blend in better with the environment, although some of them seem a bit too flashy. From what I've read online, it appears that these mutations are just purely cosmetic and do not increase the dinosaur stats, but you guys can let me know if I'm wrong or not. There isn't really much more I can say about this Acrocanthosaurus. It can take a decent amount of gunfire before going down and is able to compete with other tyrants such as the Rex and Spinosaurus despite being weaker. So that's just gonna do it for this one, folks. This video took me a bit longer than I expected, but it was worth it. I actually enjoyed making this one. I'll try my best to see if I could upload a Megalodon video tomorrow if I'm not too tired, because your boy, I haven't had that much sleep this week. It's all worth it in the end though, so please consider hitting that subscribe button so I can keep making vids like this. That's a wrap for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.